So I students of Connected North at Home. Thank you for joining today on April 28th. Can you imagine we've been doing this for almost 6 weeks? And we're so excited that our friend Arielle from the Cleveland Museum of Art has offered to join us at home. She's one of our favorite providers with the Connected North program. She does some really cool stuff at the art gallery, but she's not at the art gallery today. She's at home herself, and she's going to do a really awesome program teaching us a little bit about math, tiny bit about math, and then using those angles to create an origami, I believe, ladybug today, right?
Yes, today we're going to work on the ladybug.
We're going to work on the ladybug. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to you, Arielle, and the students are, oh, Gabriella says she's doing angles in math at school right now. Like, how perfect is that?
That is perfect. We can definitely talk about a few math vocabulary terms that are good to emphasize when you're doing origami. So that's perfect.
That's perfect. So this is a math lesson for those of you who need to tell your teachers you were in a math lesson today, but math and art are very closely related. So Arielle's going to talk about that too. So over to you, Arielle.
All right. Well, everybody, great to see you all today. I know we can't physically all see each other. I know you can see me. Oh, and I see that Jordan said you have special paper. That's wonderful. If anybody has actual origami paper, feel free to use that. I am just going to use plain old Xerox paper, copy paper today. But you can use a variety of kinds of paper. Colorful paper would be great. And if your paper is a rectangle, we are going to make it into a square before we start folding. So I promise I will show everybody how to do that. So everybody, my name is Arielle, and I am coming to you today from the Cleveland Museum of Art. And before we start the folding, which I promise we will start that very soon, I just wanted to show you something that we have at the museum that is related to math, but in a different way. And I can also show you a little bit of what the museum looks like for a second. So I see a question about needing scissors. If you have some, they're useful for cutting the extra piece of paper off. But if you don't have scissors, don't stress about it. I can show you how to carefully rip off the extra bit of the rectangle. So if you don't have scissors, you don't have a problem. But if you have them, that's great. I do have a pair here, so if you want yours, that's perfect. So let me do this. I am going to share with you, just for a minute or two, I'm going to share with you a PowerPoint that has a picture of the museum, and it actually has a map of where I'm at, so I can show you that. Let me bring that up, and then we'll start with the folding here in just a moment. So let me go back to my internet browser. And I apologize, I had it pulled up and then I had to pull something else up here to, to get ready for the call. So I have to pull up the PowerPoint again. Should have pulled that up first. There we go. So we do this program when we're normally at the museum, and I wanted to show you a little bit of what the museum looks like. So you should be able to see it here in a second. And I know it's a little slow, but it'll come up. So you should see now a title that says Angles and Answers, Origami and... We like to relate the art.
I can see it.
To... Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Molly, were you trying to say something?
No, I was just telling you I can see it. It's Katie.
You said you can see the image that says origami on it?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, it seems like when you show PowerPoint on a web browser, it takes a little minute to come up, but it will come up. So here, let me advance this a little bit. You will see in just a second some pictures of what the museum looks like. Oh, and that, let me go backwards for a second here. Sometimes it moves faster than I think it will. That is a picture from far away of the museum, and it is springtime right now, so it has pretty cherry blossoms outside. There's a closer picture of it. One of the questions that just came in from Izzy and Leo is, do you need origami paper? No. If you just have plain old regular paper, that will work. If you happen to have origami paper at home, then that's great. We will use it.
But if you just have an ordinary sheet of paper, we can fold with that. So whatever you have, the only thing you don't want to use, everybody, is very heavy paper. So I probably wouldn't use thick cardstock or construction paper, but any kind of thin paper, whether it's colorful or plain, is great. All right. So I'll just run through these images pretty quickly, as quickly as the PowerPoint will let me here. And that's what the museum actually looks like, even though I'm not there right now. I'm in my dining room at home. But the museum, I just wanted everybody to know where it is, because I'm guessing that a lot of you are in different parts of Canada. I am actually in the US, I'm in Ohio. And if you can see the little red star on the map, that's where Cleveland is, where the museum is located. So we're not too far away from each other, but a little ways away. And if anybody in the chat, if you want to tell me where you're at, where you live, you're welcome to do that too, besides giving questions. All right, so normally when I teach at the museum, I'm in a room that looks like a TV studio. Oh, thanks. Jordan is mentioning where you're at. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, one of these days, I'll have to remember, I should add, oh, and there's a bunch coming through. Awesome. So really all over Canada. That's fantastic, everybody. Well, hi to Dawson, Gabriella, Josh, Rael, Allen, Owen and Aiden, and Mike. Lots of names coming through. Thanks, everybody. All right, so this room that you're looking at, this has our green screen in it. It's like a TV studio. And the reason we use the green screen is we normally have the artwork behind me or whoever's teaching. So today it looks a little bit different, but I wanted you to see how it looks. We're going to be making a ladybug today, and it doesn't have to be with red paper. You could definitely color this later, or you could make another one using red paper if you want to practice today with plain paper. Oh, and I see some of the participants are saying hi to one another too. That's fantastic. All right, so before we start our ladybugs, I wanted to talk about what origami is for a second. So I have a question for everybody, and you can type your answer in the chat. Can anybody tell me what the word origami means? Does anybody know? It's a Japanese word, but maybe you know what it means. We'll give everybody a second to type, because I know that takes a little more time. Oh, I think Owen and Aiden got it, and I saw Charlie and AJ. It has to do with paper folding, and Izzy and Leo got it, and Lucy. Good job, everybody, and Gabby too. It literally does mean folding paper. It comes from two words. In Japanese, you would write it differently if I was writing in Japanese, but ori means to fold, and kami is the Japanese word for paper. So when those words got put together, it becomes origami as we know it. And believe it or not, it's been around for a long time. They have probably been folding paper in the world for at least 2,000 years. And we think it may have actually started in China, because that's where paper first originates about 2,000 years ago. But we think of it as being from Japan, which you see now in the map that I have up. A lot of things are shared between China and Japan for many, many years, and still are. So we think paper came to Japan from China, as well as paper folding. But a lot of the famous artists that really have made origami and art are from Japan. And I bet some of you will know this next image. Let me put this up. Does anybody know what famous origami project this is on screen? Can you see it? Charlie and AJ, you typed that so fast. And Tana's typing too, and Mike and Gabby, good job, everybody. It is a crane. I bet a lot of you have seen this before. In fact, I bet some of you have even made one. Did anybody who ever tried making one think that it was tough, or did you think it was easy to fold? Anybody that's tried? Yeah, I see some yeses. Oh, Mike says easy. I think it depends on how much origami you've done, right? If you're a beginner, I think it's kind of tough, but I think if you've done it before, it gets much easier. This is a kind of a special project though, because paper cranes, people say if you can fold 1,000 of them, you can have a wish granted. So if you practice and practice, it gets a lot easier. People love making these, and cranes are kind of an important symbol in Japan and in other parts of the world. And hello to Jack. Here's a real crane for you. It's a bird that people think of it as a symbol for peace and for hope. It's used in a lot of ways, and it's been popular in Japan for a long time, not just as origami. But people do love the crane, and I'll show you these pictures. Here's one of the world's biggest paper cranes. It's not even the biggest one ever, but that's one of the biggest. It was more than 200 feet. You can see it's on a football field. That was done almost 20 years ago. I think it was done around 1999 or the year 2000. Yeah, it is huge. So the one of the questions was, how did they make it? I don't think they used just a piece of paper for that. I think there was definitely probably some machinery to help stand it up. And it looks like lots of paper. Yeah. So it's maybe not traditional, but you can see it also probably took a lot of people's help. People also like to make extreme examples that are small. It sort of looks like wood, but I'm not sure. I think they may have used cardboard and other kinds of paper products to make it, but it may have metal to help hold it up. It's a good question. Yeah. So the other picture you'll like, here's one of the world's smallest, and that's next to a quarter. So it's pretty tiny. You could fit that on the end of your finger. So if you like extreme origami, both of those are pretty extreme. But what we're thinking about today, everybody, is how folding paper relates to math. So the next couple images are other projects that people have made. Yeah, Katie, you're right. I think you would need tweezers to fold that one. I don't think I could fold it without tweezers. It's so small. Yeah, this dragon is a more professional example. I didn't make this one. This was made by a professional artist. And it's probably several sheets of paper. So if you get really good at origami, you can make projects where you join several things together and fold lots of layers. You can make fortune tellers like the green fortune teller in this picture. You can make insects and different kinds of animals. And as you're folding today, we are going to mention some math terms that can help us when we're talking about shapes and angles. So I'll mention that as we're working together. Yeah, some people call those fortune tellers cootie catchers, Gabriella and Spencer, you're right. They used to call them cootie catchers all the time. Oh, and I see hearts. People have made hearts before. That's awesome. You can make so many things, and we're probably going to do another program on this, probably in a couple weeks, and we'll make something else. So we'll do a part 2. Oh, and flowers. Yeah. My daughter wanted to make an airplane this morning, so we were working on that. All right. So before we start our folding, the only other thing I wanted everybody to see, and we don't have to spend a long time on it, is I wanted you to see something from the museum that's not origami, but it is made of paper, and it's very old. And we'll just look at it together for a moment or two, and I'll show you how to find it on the website if you want to see more of it later, even after today. This is a very old print. Oh, and Lucy mentioned making a box. That might be one of the projects we get to do together sometime. So I'm glad you know how to make a box, because I know how to make one too. We won't do it today, but maybe another time.
Yeah, we're doing that May 11th.
Oh, I'm sorry. Say that again.
May 11th.
Yes, that was what I thought the other one was. I didn't know if there was any question about rescheduling it, but is May 11th confirmed?
So yeah, I'll check, but I think so.
That's what I have on my calendar. So we'll plan to see everybody again on May 11th if you can come back again. Yeah. Oh, and your birthday is on May 10th. So it'll be right after that. So everybody in the audience, the work that you're looking at, I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit for you. It's a very old print. It's printed in ink. And when I say it's a print, there's different ways to do that. But you could make a print yourself. If you had even a potato, people like to make prints with those, and you cut it into a shape and you put paint or ink on it. You could make stamps with it. That's a form of printing. So my birthday is also from now too. Yeah, so this is a fancier kind of print. It was not made using a potato. This artist did prints where he had a metal plate or a wooden block that was carved or etched, and you could put ink on it, and it was a way of making multiple images. The name of it, melancholia, is in English, we would say the word melancholy. So it describes a feeling. If you can see the lady in this, she kind of looks like a lady. We're not really sure, actually. But do you see the person with wings that's sitting? The person doesn't look very happy. She's kind of resting her hand like this, resting her head on her hand, I should say. So the word melancholy, if anyone's ever heard it, it's when you're feeling sort of gloomy. And I bet with, being at home so much and not getting to see all of our friends and be at school, yes, we will start the origami in just a second. I just wanted to point out one thing in here, I promise. But what I thought was kind of cool about this is it's a picture about how the artist maybe feels a little gloomy and a little frustrated because maybe he was just having a bad day. Maybe even if you're creative, sometimes the things that we try to make don't always turn out. And that's one of the things this picture is about. But the other reason I picked it, and I'll show you because it relates to our origami, is if you zoom in a little bit, there's a lot of math in here. You can see the scale and the hourglass in this shot, and you see that square with the numbers in it. That's actually a puzzle. If you add up all the numbers in any row, you could go across, you could go down, you get the same answer. And I'm going to show you how to find this work on our website, everybody. You don't have to add up the numbers right now. But it's kind of magic because if you add up any of those, you get the same answer. And then there's also a big shape in here that is on the left-hand side. You see that big sculpture? We're going to make our ladybugs. And when you see one of the shapes appear in the ladybug, it might remind you of this sculpture. The sculpture is called a polyhedron because it's not quite a cube, but it is a three-dimensional shape. I'll zoom in on it for you. That is a polyhedron. It's made of lots of polygons or lots of geometric shapes that are put together. It's kind of a weird shape, but when we do our ladybugs, here's one that my daughter decorated. When we do our ladybugs, you might notice some of the shapes remind you of this kind of interesting sculpture. So what I might do for the sake of time, we'll go ahead and start our project, but we can always come back to this picture and I can show you how to find it on our website later too. So let's do this. I'm going to switch now to my camera, which is actually my phone, and we can start making our paper into a square. And here we go. Give me 1 second. I gotta just turn it the right way for you. Get it to turn, hopefully. Hang on 1 second, everybody. I let the phone go to sleep, so now it's turned the wrong way. There we go. You can see all the mess on my table. Haha. The magic of television, you can hide that usually. Okay. So I've got this on a stand above the table, and I'm just tightening up the stand, and then I'm going to put it back in the right spot here so you can see. Okay. So if your paper is a rectangle, here's what we're going to do first. We're going to fold the top corner and we're going to match it up with the bottom edge of the paper because this is how we're going to make this into a square. And if it gets blurry at any point, everybody, and you didn't see what I folded, let me know and I'll do it again. It's easy to redo it. So always line up the edge before you do the crease. That way you know it's even and it'll be nice and smooth. Okay. And you're going to have this extra little rectangle that we're going to get rid of. You can either cut this part off with a scissor, a pair of scissors I have here, or if you don't have scissors, let me show you how to rip it. What I like to do is fold this little rectangle back and forth a couple of times so that it has a nice crease, and then it's pretty easy to rip off. You could even put a ruler next to it for a straight edge. So I'm going to fold it forward, open it back up, and then I actually like to turn this over and fold it the other way because that'll help it rip smoothly. Of course, if you have scissors, you probably don't even need to do this part. You can just cut it with scissors. But I'm creasing this with my fingernail so that it's real easy to rip. If you have a ruler available, which I should have put one on my table, I didn't. But if you have a ruler, you can line it up next to this edge and then carefully rip that piece off. Even if you don't have a ruler, if you're careful, it should rip. Let's see if I folded this enough to get it. Fold it on the edge table, that works too. But the more times you fold it, the nice sharp crease will help you. And if it doesn't come out perfect, you can always trim it up with your scissors later too. There you go. So you can get rid of that extra piece, save that for something else. Now we have a nice square sheet of paper. Zoom in a touch, there we go. And since this already has a fold in it, I'm gonna rotate it so the fold now is horizontal. Okay, I want it across, not going down, not right now. And I'm actually gonna refold it. Oh, you did that already when we were talking. I just saw that comment from Jordan. That's fine. So I'm gonna fold this back down because that is actually the first step to our ladybug. We turned our paper now into a triangle. Does anybody know, just for fun, those of you that have talked about this in math, does anybody know what kind of triangle has two equal sides and one that's different? It might not be something you studied yet in math. There's lots of different kinds of triangles, and this one actually is also, if you look at it this way, if I turn it, it has a right angle in it. So some of you might have heard of a right triangle before. That's what this is. But when there's two sides that are the same, and here, I'm going to type it in the chat so you can see the word as I say it. It's called an isosceles triangle. Let's see if I can spell it correctly. Haha. That should be correct, but please don't be mad at me if I spelled it incorrectly. So it's an isosceles triangle. So what we're going to do next, everybody, we're going to fold this in half again. Keep your triangle so that it's pointed down like mine. And you're going to take one of the corners, either the left or the right. You're going to line it up and fold it in half again. This. Only this time, I want you to open it back up again. Like this. Now, we have this nice crease down the middle, but right now it's kind of popping up off the table. I actually want you to take the whole thing, turn it over, so that way the corners are down, but the ridge maybe sticks up a little bit. That's actually going to be sort of the spine of our ladybug, kind of the middle line of it. So I want that part popping up, not bending in. If you accidentally have it bent the other way, it's not going to ruin it, but it'll look better if it's like this. So on my ladybug here that's finished, you can see it has a ridge down the middle that kind of sticks up. Okay, so our next step I'm going to show, but let me check if everybody is ready for the next step. Does anybody need a minute to catch up? Okay, I see Dawson and Elise are ready. Oh, good. Lots of people are saying ready. So I am going to keep on going. And again, if you miss a step and you want me to go back, please let me know. Okay. All right. So we're going to take, I'm grabbing the right corner and I'm going to put my left finger right near this crease right here in the middle. Okay. And I'm going to bend this down. Oh, and my video stopped moving. Hold on one second. Sorry about that. We're going to bend this down. So I'm holding my finger here. Hopefully you can see that. Let me zoom in a little. I'm holding my finger here to hold the paper on the table, and then I'm using my other free hand to bend so that it makes a point right here at the top. And I'm bending a triangle that comes down part way, but not all the way. So you can still see this nice middle line. So I'll show it to you. Let me fold it and then move my hand so you can see it. So it's a triangle that comes down, but it doesn't cover the whole thing. It stays off to the side, like that. A lot of origami projects, everybody, you do the same thing on the left and the right. And this is a project like that. It is very symmetrical. They're not always, but I'm going to try to mimic what I did on the right on the left-hand side. So I like to switch hands. I like to put this finger now from my right hand up at the top, and then I'm going to use my left hand to fold the flap. What you have to try to do, though, is you want to try to make it so there's an even amount of space between them. Like, I don't want this one way off here. I don't want it too close to the middle. Then they don't look the same. So you want to make them about the same size and about the same distance from each other. As close as you can. If yours is a little different than mine, that's totally okay. Can anybody tell what part of the ladybug are these two triangles going to be? Yep, those are going to turn into our wings. You're right. We're not quite done, but it at least has wings now. Very good. Once you have those both folded, and I can even zoom in a touch here, make this a little bigger for you. You can take the ladybug now and you can turn it over so you're looking at the back. Okay. We're going to do something next to make the head of the ladybug. And I want you to try to imagine that there is a line that runs across the paper that's horizontal. There isn't really a line, but let's pretend. I'm going to put one finger right in the middle where I think that line would come across and it would bump into my finger right about here. And then I'm going to take the other hand and I'm going to fold this top corner carefully. It's a little thick now because I have layers of paper. I'm going to carefully fold it down to my finger. You might have to kind of use both hands to get that to flatten. That's why origami paper is thin, because you fold it over and over again. So when it's thick paper, it's really hard to fold. This paper is not incredibly thick, but still a little challenging. And then I'm going to take what I folded and I'm going to fold another part of it back up. In fact, if I draw on this with my pencil, just to give you an idea, I'm going to imagine about a third of the way down. You don't have to draw on it. I'm just doing it so you know what I mean. If you imagine there's a line about here, that's what I want to fold up on. So most of it gets folded back up again, not all of it. I didn't quite fold all of it, just maybe 2/3 of it. Okay. I can zoom in a little bit if this is hard to see. The reason I'm doing this, let me show you the other side first, and then I'll zoom in again. The reason I'm doing that is I want a little bit of it to peek out so the ladybug has a head. If I don't fold up enough, you won't see that head. There won't be anything showing. So let me show you again what I did, and I'll zoom in a touch. Okay. So I was here, and I pretended that I had a line maybe about a third of the way down on that triangle, and then I folded up everything else. If you fold up a little more or a little less, that's okay. Yeah, we can pause here for a second. That's no problem. So everybody can get the head. You want me to leave it like this for a second so everybody can look at it? And does anybody have a question? I see a lot of people saying, no, we don't need to slow down, but if anybody does need a moment, it's totally okay. Did everybody get this part to work? Did you check on the other side to see if your ladybug has a head? Good. Okay. Zoom back out a little bit. Okay. So at this point, it has a head, it has wings. What I like to do to finish it, ladybugs are really a lot more rounded than this, and this is very pointy because we're folding straight lines. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to point it out. When you were doing the head, you might have noticed when this was still down, this shape looks a lot like the side of that polyhedron in the work that we saw by Dürer. That was that old print we were looking at. That print, by the way, is 500 years old. It's from the Renaissance, which was a long time ago. So definitely, I'll if we have a moment at the end, I'll try to show you how to look at it on our website. So very similar shapes. Okay, so we're gonna round off these corners, and then the only other thing you may want to do is decorate this later, but we don't have to do that together today. The rounding off the corners is the part that I want you to watch it before you try it. And I am gonna zoom in a touch. I'm going to fold back this corner, but I'm not going to leave it folded. So I want you to watch me for a second. When I fold this back, again, it's a lot of layers. You're going to fold back a little piece of it and crease it, okay? But I'm going to open it back up again because I want to do something special to make this corner invisible. It's not really invisible, but it'll be hidden. So if I unfold that and I lift this off the table for a minute, I can separate now the wing and the body. I'm going to push on this corner and bend it the other way. Some of you, if you've done paper airplanes, you might have done this. It's called reverse folding. You tuck that in. And then you don't see that little corner anymore. So now it's hidden. Okay, but it's not gone. It didn't really leave. It's just inside. Sorry about that. There we go. Okay. So let me show it again, and you can do it with me this time if it is helpful to do it together. Okay. So you bend back a little corner right here on the left side or the right side. We're going to do both anyway. Okay, so you bend that corner back and really use your finger or your fingernail, really crease it. Okay, then you open it back up. And I recommend you pick it up off the table for a second because you're going to hold one hand on the wing, one on the body, and you're going to separate them. So you kind of see the front and the back of that little triangle that you just made. You can see both of them. Hopefully this is not too blurry for you to see it. And if you push your finger on that and bend it in like this, and you might have to use both hands. Okay, I'm tucking that inside and I'm closing it up. So that corner disappears. It's not on the back and it's also not on the front. Now it's tucked in. Oh, good. I see Charlie and AJ said you did it. If anybody had trouble with that, oh, good. I see Gabriella says done. Great. Gabby. All right. Well, I'll do the other side and you can do it along with me if you need to see it again too. Excellent. You are all origami experts. Reverse folding, where you change the direction something is folded, is really useful for other projects. So if you can do this, you can do this in other projects too. So you fold it, unfold it, you open it up, tuck this in, and then both corners are rounded off. And you could refold it in half again if your ladybug is kind of flattened out a little. I kind of like that middle fold to sort of stand this up a little. It pops out. Some people also like to fold in the tail, but that, I know it kind of does look like a heart shape, or if you turn it upside down, it looks like a tulip or some kind of flower. Yeah. And I bet the origami heart, if anyone's made that before, it reminds you of that a little bit for sure. Some people like to get rid of this corner, and you could do the same thing where you hide it. This is optional. If you do that though, what I would do is fold one in this way and then bend the other so they're hidden. And that way it doesn't have a pointy bottom to the body. And obviously you can decorate any way you like. Oops, wrong way. Yeah. So the bottom corner, that's up to you. If you want to get rid of that, you can. So it sounds like a lot of people got it to work, which is fantastic. And I know we probably do have to wrap up fairly soon, but if there's enough time to take some questions, I am happy to take some. And if you want to see, I can show you really quickly here. Let me stop sharing this. I can show you really quickly, everybody. If you go on our website, oh, and here, let me show you this too. This shape on the polyhedron, everybody, does anybody know what shape that is? I kind of showed it to you on the ladybug, but I didn't ask anybody what shape we would actually call that shape, like that side. What would you call that shape? It's not a triangle. It's not a rectangle. It is a kind of polygon. If you count the edges, it's a polygon that has 5 edges. Very good, Lucy. It is actually a pentagon, and it may not be the way you picture a pentagon. We picture them with equal sides, but they don't have to be. And the cool thing about this one is you probably have seen it before if you've seen like the logo that Superman has, and it looks like other things. People think it looks like a diamond too. Yeah. If you want to see more of what we have at the museum, everybody, or if you have questions after the program, let me show you this real quick. You are welcome to email questions. The address that you see on screen, the first two letters are DL at clevelandart.org. So DL for distance learning. I know that looks like an I, but it's an L. I'm going to make that all caps. Oh, and Charlie was wondering and AJ, what was the hardest origami I've made? Ooh, that's a good question. You know what? I just did one this week that I thought was really hard. It was a mermaid that my daughter had in a set. My daughter's only 5, so basically I was doing all the folding. And it was incredibly difficult. In fact, I don't even think I got all of it finished the right way. We sort of gave up after a little while. But you had to do the head separately and then the body, which was like the tail. And it was really tough. The instructions were not as clear as they could have been. I thought when I first tried the crane too, I thought it was really difficult. Oh, you're asking what it looks like? I'm looking to see if it's nearby, if I could grab it and show you. How about this? I will bring it next time on May 11th and I'll show it to you then because I don't want to go rummaging for it right now. But I'll bring it so you can see it. It was tough. Yeah, I hope you can come.
And thanks, Arielle. This is always so cool. And I also promised the students that I'll put those resources on our webpage, but I also promised that I'd put a couple of the origami challenges from this book as well, so they can practice their origami before May 11th.
That is a great idea. So you'll be experts by the time we do the next one. And maybe I'll bring a couple options for folding projects next time and we could vote which project we want to do.
Oh, good. And they said it was so much fun. And students, as always, if you can please send us your finished ladybugs, like mine is done, but I think it needs a little bit of decoration or jazzing up. And you can take a picture of it and please send it to us because we've been using some of your pictures in our newsletter. And I know that the mums and dads have really liked that. So
that would be awesome. I'd love to see the finished ones.
And I'll share one with Arielle as well. And Charlie, that's great. And Gabriella, that's so fun. I don't remember what they used to call them cootie catchers, but I called them good luck wishes or something.
Yeah, I know they've kind of changed the name.
Yeah, but that's the way that what they used to be called. So thanks, Arielle. That was absolutely awesome. And we'll look forward to the 11th. And Katie and I will send you more dates for those other programs. We're just working on that. But students at, let's see, what time is it happening? 12:30 Central, 1:30 Eastern. We have the Loyalist Soldier coming with his weapons of war, which are really super awesome. Talking about the War of 1812, which, depending on what side of the border you're on, right, Arielle? And your soldiers were involved in that as well. And then at 3:30 Central, 4:30 Eastern, we have Ovi connecting to do a Wonder Woman piece of art with, and I'm sure he'll be using shapes with that. But look at all the math we did today with Arielle. That was just great, and it fits so well with the students learning about shapes and angles right now. So thanks, Arielle. We'll see you soon, and we'll be practicing our origami for next time.
Thanks, Arielle. That was awesome. Somebody said they did 6 ladybugs while you were.
My goodness.
That's awesome.
You're going to be an expert now. Well, thank you so much, everybody, and we'll see you next time. It was great to talk to everybody today.
Please send us your ladybugs. Ladybugs are good luck.